Long before the invention of modern toilet paper, people lived in a world where daily hygiene required slow, thoughtful attention and careful use of natural materials. Life moved gently, guided by observation, patience, and the quiet rhythm of human needs. Imagine waking in a small village at dawn. The soft light spills across the land, illuminating gardens, forests, and flowing rivers. People rise, stretching slowly, aware of the rhythms of their bodies and the natural resources around them. Hygiene was part of this daily rhythm, attended to with care, mindfulness, and an understanding of the materials at hand. Before rolls of paper existed, the ways people cleaned themselves were diverse, shaped by climate, geography, and what nature provided. Each method carried subtle lessons in patience, ingenuity, and adaptation, reflecting the human ability to find gentle solutions to everyday needs. Leaves, grasses, moss, and soft plant fibers were often nearby, chosen for their textures and availability. Water from rivers, streams, and carefully collected rain offered cleansing and refreshment, flowing slowly and calmly through daily routines. Stones, shells, and smooth objects served as alternatives in places where soft plants were scarce, each handled with deliberate care. In this world, hygiene was not hurried. Each action was observed, performed slowly, and done with respect for both the body and the environment. Communities shared knowledge and practices, passing down gentle methods that connected generations to both nature and each other. This story will take us on a slow journey through time, exploring the simple, resourceful ways people cared for themselves long before toilet paper became a household staple. We will observe forests, rivers, villages, and distant lands, discovering the quiet ingenuity and mindful routines that shaped human life. As we begin, imagine the soft sounds of morning, the rustle of leaves, the gentle flow of water, and the calm awareness of a body moving in harmony with the natural world. This is a world of slow discovery, careful practice, and a deep connection to the simple materials that sustained everyday life. Before the convenience of modern toilet paper, leaves and natural foliage were gentle companions in daily hygiene. People carefully selected soft, broad leaves that would provide comfort while cleaning. The textures of nature offered a simple, effective solution, quietly connecting humans to their surroundings. In forests and meadows, dew-kissed leaves glimmered in the morning light. Soft ferns, smooth plantains, and tender wild grasses grew abundantly, ready to be used when needed. Each leaf was chosen with observation and care, ensuring it was fresh, flexible, and safe to use. Communities relied on local plants, learning which types were best suited for hygiene. Some leaves offered softness, others durability, and still others were naturally fragrant or soothing. Over generations, knowledge of these plants passed quietly from elders to children. Using leaves required a gentle approach. People learned to fold them, soften them, or layer them for comfort. The process was mindful, deliberate, and slow, reflecting the rhythms of life that emphasized observation and care over haste. Leaves were often collected during quiet walks in nature. Families and individuals moved through forests or fields, noticing textures, shapes, and moisture. The selection became part of a reflective routine, a way to connect with the land while tending to daily needs. After use, leaves could sometimes be composted or returned to the soil, completing a gentle cycle of care and renewal. This approach linked hygiene to the broader rhythms of the environment, teaching respect for natural resources and the subtle balance of giving and taking. Children observed these practices from an early age. They learned the textures of different plants, how to fold and use leaves carefully, and how to respect the environment that provided them. These lessons quietly instilled patience, mindfulness, and observation. Leaves were especially common in temperate and forested regions, where soft foliage grew abundantly. In warmer climates, families sometimes combined leaves with other plant fibers, grasses, or moss, adapting to the landscape while maintaining comfort and hygiene. Even in villages and settlements, leaves were carefully gathered, stored, and sometimes dried for later use. This preparation reflected the slow, deliberate approach that characterized all aspects of daily life before modern conveniences. The use of leaves also reinforced a sense of connection to the natural world. Each action, picking, folding, or placing a leaf, was part of a quiet understanding that human needs could be met thoughtfully, using what the land provided. Over time, people developed preferences for specific leaves, noting those that were softest, least irritating, or most effective. This knowledge became a subtle form of wisdom, quietly passed along through observation, conversation, and gentle practice. The simple act of using leaves reminds us that hygiene was once deeply intertwined with nature. It required attention, care, and patience, teaching humans to move slowly, observe closely, and adapt thoughtfully to the world around them. Long before toilet paper, moss and soft plants provided gentle and comforting alternatives for hygiene. Their tender textures and natural softness made them valuable in forests, meadows, and damp valleys where they thrived quietly among rocks and tree roots. Moss, lush and green, often grew thickly on the forest floor, cushioned by layers of fallen leaves and earth. People carefully harvested small patches, selecting only the softest, most absorbent sections. The act of gathering was slow and deliberate, blending practicality with a quiet appreciation for nature's gifts. Ferns with their delicate fronds were also used. Each frond was chosen for flexibility and softness, providing a soothing experience. Communities learned which species worked best, creating knowledge that passed quietly from one generation to the next. Using moss and ferns required patience. They were folded, layered, or softened with water when necessary. The gentle practice taught mindfulness, reminding people that even small daily actions could be done with care and attention. In shaded forests or along riverbanks, families moved slowly, observing textures, moisture, and growth patterns. The selection process became a moment of calm reflection, connecting humans to the cycles of nature and the quiet rhythms of life. After use, moss and plant materials could sometimes return to the earth. Their decomposition nourished the soil, completing a gentle cycle of life. This slow, natural process reinforced an awareness of environmental balance and sustainability. Children learned these practices by watching elders, absorbing lessons in observation, patience, and the careful use of natural resources. They discovered that even the smallest, softest plant could hold value when used thoughtfully. Moss and soft ferns were often complemented by other plant fibers, such as grasses or soft leaves, depending on the season and availability. These combinations reflected subtle ingenuity, creating solutions that balanced comfort, hygiene, and resourcefulness. The quiet abundance of moss in forests made it a reliable choice. Communities respected its value, harvesting only what was needed and ensuring that the delicate ecosystem was preserved for future use. Even in daily routines, the presence of moss and ferns encouraged calm, deliberate action. Each moment, picking, preparing, and using these soft materials taught mindfulness and a gentle awareness of the natural world. Over time, people developed a deep understanding of local plant life. They recognized textures, growth patterns, and suitability for hygiene, cultivating knowledge that blended practicality with quiet observation and respect. Using moss and soft plant materials reminds us that early hygiene was not just functional. It was an intimate connection to nature. It required care, patience, and attention, shaping a rhythm of life that moved slowly, thoughtfully, and in harmony with the world around us. Before toilet paper, water was one of the gentlest and most common ways people maintained hygiene. Flowing streams, rivers, and collected rain provided a soft, cleansing touch that connected humans to the natural rhythms of their environment. Imagine a quiet river at dawn, the surface reflecting the soft glow of the rising sun. The water moves gently over smooth stones, carrying leaves and small ripples downstream. People approach these streams slowly, aware of the comfort and freshness the water could provide. Water offered not only cleanliness, but also a sense of refreshment. A careful rinse could soothe and calm the body, leaving a gentle feeling of renewal. Communities relied on these natural flows, integrating them seamlessly into daily routines. Bathing or cleansing with water required patience. People often used small amounts, moving slowly and deliberately to ensure thorough care. Every gesture was mindful, reflecting respect for both the body and the natural resource that sustained them. Children learned early how to use water for hygiene. They observed adults gently splashing, rinsing, and guiding small streams to wash themselves. Through these lessons, they absorbed patience, mindfulness, and an intimate understanding of natural cycles. Water was also adapted in creative ways. Simple bowls, hollowed gourds, or clay vessels could carry river or rainwater to secluded spots, making the process practical while preserving a quiet rhythm of personal care. In warmer climates, water was abundant, flowing freely in rivers and ponds. In cooler regions, collected rain or snowmelt served as a soft cleansing agent, reminding communities that hygiene could be maintained thoughtfully even in varied environments. Even the sound of water contributed to the gentle rhythm of hygiene. The trickle of a stream, the splash of a gourd, or the soft ripple of a pond became part of a calming routine, blending cleansing with sensory awareness and quiet reflection. Using water also encouraged respect for nature. People understood that water was precious and limited in some regions, prompting careful use, mindful collection, and gentle disposal, fostering a connection to the environment that went beyond mere practicality. Communities often paired water with soft plant materials, such as leaves, moss, or grass. Together, they created a gentle, effective approach that emphasized comfort, care, and deliberate attention, slowly shaping daily routines over generations. The practice of washing with water reinforced a sense of flow and calm. Each step, from collecting to using to returning water to the earth, encouraged slow, deliberate movements, mindful breathing, and quiet reflection, making hygiene both practical and meditative. Water as a cleansing method reminds us that early hygiene was not hurried or mechanical. It was thoughtful, sensory, and harmonized with the natural world. Through this simple, gentle approach, communities discovered that care for the body and respect for the environment could move together in a calm, deliberate rhythm. Long before toilet paper, people often turned to the natural materials around them, including stones, clay, and sand, as gentle tools for hygiene. These elements were chosen carefully for their texture, availability, and subtle effectiveness. Imagine a quiet riverbank where smooth pebbles glisten under the morning sun. Each stone has been naturally polished by flowing water over the years, its edges soft and rounded. People selected only the most suitable stones, handling them with care and mindfulness. Clay, soft and malleable, was another option. Communities in regions with abundant soil discovered that a small amount of clay could provide a cleansing effect while remaining gentle to the skin. They learned which types worked best and how to use them thoughtfully. Sand, fine and soft, often came from riverbeds or beaches. Its gentle abrasiveness allowed people to cleanse effectively while remaining aware of its delicate texture. Choosing the right sand required observation and care, as coarser grains could be too harsh. Using stones, clay, or sand demanded patience and attentiveness. People moved slowly, folding materials, rubbing gently, and observing how each texture interacted with their skin. Hygiene was a deliberate, calming process rather than a hurried routine. Children often watched elders as they worked with these materials. They learned to select smooth stones, soft clay, or fine sand, gaining early lessons in observation, care, and thoughtful interaction with the natural world. In many communities, these natural elements were combined with water or soft plants. A gentle rinse or the addition of moss created a balanced, comfortable approach that respected both practicality and comfort. Even in small villages, stones and clay were treated with care. They were often set aside after use, cleaned or returned to the earth, reinforcing a quiet awareness of resourcefulness and environmental balance. The textures of stones, clay, and sand also provided sensory connection. The smoothness of a river pebble, the cool touch of wet clay, or the gentle grain of fine sand encouraged mindfulness, slowing daily routines and fostering calm reflection. Different regions adapted these methods according to local materials. Coastal communities favored fine sand and shells, while inland villages used clay and polished stones. Each choice reflected careful attention to the resources nature provided. Even the simplest natural materials carried subtle lessons. They taught people patience, respect for the environment, and a gentle understanding of how small, deliberate actions could meet essential needs. Through stones, clay, and sand, early humans discovered that hygiene was not only about cleanliness, but also about mindfulness, observation, and the slow, attentive use of the natural world surrounding them. Before toilet paper, people often turned to what the land provided, including corn cobs and other plant stalks. These materials were practical, readily available, and used with a gentle understanding of their textures and forms. Imagine a quiet field in early autumn, the soft rustle of stalks in the breeze. Corn cobs, dried and sturdy, rest among the harvest. People carefully selected those that were smooth and suitable for use, handling them slowly and with awareness. Other edible plant stalks, such as stalks of wheat, barley, or reeds, were also used. Each had its own texture and resilience, and communities learned which were most effective while remaining gentle to the skin. Using these plant materials required care. People often softened stalks with water, peeled outer layers, or selected thinner sections. Each action was deliberate, mindful, and rooted in a quiet rhythm of observation. Children learned through gentle guidance. They watched how adults prepared and used stalks, discovering the importance of patience, attention to texture, and the thoughtful use of natural resources. Harvesting these stalks was often part of daily life. As people tended their fields, they also identified suitable stalks for hygiene, combining necessity with mindfulness and a quiet awareness of their surroundings. Plant stalks were sometimes combined with other soft materials. Moss, leaves, or grasses could be wrapped around the stalk, creating a gentle, cushioned effect. This combination reflected subtle ingenuity and practical adaptation. Even after use, stalks were handled thoughtfully. They could be returned to the soil, composted, or burned carefully, ensuring that the environment remained balanced and that resources were respected. Different regions adapted their plant choices according to what was abundant. Corn cobs were common in the Americas, while other cereals and reeds were more typical in Eurasian settlements. Each community learned to harmonize hygiene with the natural materials at hand. The textures of stalks offered a sensory connection to the land. The firmness, the grain, and even the scent of dried plants encouraged mindfulness, slowing daily routines and fostering gentle reflection. Using corn cobs and stalks illustrates how early humans combined practicality with care. Hygiene was not hurried, but integrated into daily life, respecting both the body and the environment. Through these natural, edible materials, communities discovered that essential needs could be met thoughtfully. Each stalk carried lessons in patience, observation, and gentle adaptation, quietly shaping the rhythm of life. Before toilet paper, people often turned to the gentle textures of shells and smooth objects found in nature. These items were chosen carefully for their shape, size, and comfort, offering a simple yet effective way to maintain hygiene. Imagine a quiet shoreline at sunrise, where small shells glimmer softly on the sand. Each shell has been shaped by the slow movement of waves over years, polished to smooth perfection, ready to be handled with care. Smooth stones, rounded by rivers and streams, also served as useful tools. Communities selected only the softest, most comfortable pieces, moving slowly and deliberately to ensure a gentle experience. Using shells or smooth stones required mindfulness. People folded them, handled them carefully, and combined them with other materials like leaves or moss to provide comfort and efficiency. Each step was deliberate and thoughtful. Children observed the careful selection of these natural objects. They learned to notice texture, weight, and shape, discovering how small details could make a big difference in comfort and effectiveness. Shells and stones were often gathered during quiet walks along shores or riverbanks. These trips were unhurried, giving time to observe the environment, connect with nature, and select the gentlest objects. Sometimes these objects were paired with water, moss, or plant fibers. The combination created a soft, effective cleaning method that was both practical and soothing, blending textures and materials naturally. Even after use, shells and stones were treated with care. They could be rinsed, dried, or set aside for reuse, reflecting the slow, thoughtful rhythm of life and the respect communities had for natural resources. In coastal regions, shells offered subtle variety. Different shapes and sizes were suited to different purposes, and people learned over time which ones were most comfortable and effective, quietly refining their practice. The sensory experience of using shells or smooth objects encouraged attentiveness. The cool touch of a stone, the smooth curve of a shell, and the gentle pressure of natural materials all promoted calm, deliberate actions. These natural tools also carried a sense of beauty. Their patterns, colors, and forms reminded people of the connection between utility and aesthetic appreciation, enriching the quiet rhythm of daily life. Through shells and smooth objects, early communities discovered that hygiene could be practical, mindful, and connected to the natural world. Every item carried lessons in observation, patience, and gentle adaptation, shaping the rhythm of life slowly and thoughtfully. Long before modern toilet paper, people in parts of Asia discovered the gentle use of paper and plant-based alternatives for hygiene. These early innovations were subtle, practical, and carefully integrated into daily life. Imagine a quiet village in ancient China. Soft paper, often made from mulberry bark, bamboo fibers, or rice straw, is slowly prepared. Each sheet is smooth, delicate, and ready to be used with care, reflecting both craftsmanship and practicality. The early paper was a thoughtful creation. Fibers were soaked, mashed, and carefully pressed into thin sheets. The process was slow and deliberate, requiring attention to detail and respect for the materials at hand. Communities learned which types of paper were gentlest for hygiene. Softer, thinner sheets were preferred, while thicker sheets might be used for other purposes. This knowledge was quietly passed from generation to generation. Children observed adults working with paper, learning not only the practical use, but also the care required in preparation and handling. They discovered patience, mindfulness, and respect for the natural resources that provided the fibers. Water sometimes accompanied the use of paper, softening it or making it more flexible. Small bowls or gently flowing streams offered a calming rhythm, creating a balanced and effective approach to hygiene. Bamboo, rice, and other plant-based materials were also used directly as sheets or woven into soft mats. These alternatives reflected ingenuity and adaptation to local resources, creating practical solutions that were gentle on the skin. Even after use, paper and plant sheets were handled thoughtfully. They could be composted, burned carefully, or otherwise returned to the environment, maintaining a quiet cycle of care and sustainability. The textures of early paper alternatives encouraged attentiveness. The smoothness of a fiber, the gentle flexibility, and the delicate handling all promoted slow, deliberate movements, fostering mindfulness in daily routines. Paper in Asia also carried cultural and social significance. It was used in writing, ceremonies, and hygiene alike, blending practical utility with deeper appreciation for craftsmanship and care. Over time, these early paper alternatives influenced hygiene practices more broadly. Communities learned that cleanliness could be gentle, mindful, and resourceful, integrating natural fibers and thoughtful preparation into daily life. Through the use of paper and plant-based sheets, early societies discovered that hygiene could be more than practical. It could be a deliberate, calming, and respectful interaction with the natural world, quietly shaping the rhythms of human life. Before modern toilet paper, people often used cloth and rags as gentle and reusable alternatives for hygiene. These materials were soft, practical, and integrated thoughtfully into daily life. Imagine a quiet village where families carefully prepared small pieces of cloth for personal use. The fabric is soft and worn smooth by repeated washing, its fibers familiar and comforting to the touch. Cloth and rags were chosen for their texture. Linen, cotton, and wool offered softness, absorbency, and gentle contact with the skin. Each piece was selected deliberately, reflecting careful attention to comfort and hygiene. Using cloth required mindfulness. People folded rags, layered them, and sometimes softened them with water. Every movement was slow and deliberate, creating a gentle routine that respected both the body and the material. Children learned early how to use cloth properly. They observed elders folding, washing, and storing rags, discovering lessons in patience, care, and the mindful reuse of resources. Cloth was often washed and dried carefully after use. Sunlight, running water, or gentle scrubbing restored cleanliness, creating a calming cycle of use, care, and renewal that connected daily hygiene to rhythm and patience. Communities valued cloth because it could be reused many times. This sustainability reflected a quiet awareness of resources, teaching respect for materials and careful handling to preserve comfort and effectiveness. Even in colder climates, cloth offered warmth and softness. Its texture was forgiving, cushioning the body while providing an effective solution for hygiene, blending practicality with comfort. Different sizes and shapes of cloth were adapted for various needs. Larger rags could serve multiple purposes, while smaller squares were convenient and discreet, demonstrating thoughtful attention to daily life. The use of cloth encouraged slow, deliberate habits. Folding, cleaning, and storing each piece became part of a mindful routine, reinforcing observation, care, and calm reflection in daily life. Cloth also carried a subtle sense of familiarity and security. The soft fibers and gentle handling created comfort, connecting people to both their households and the broader rhythms of daily living. Through cloth and rags, early communities discovered that hygiene could be both practical and thoughtful. Every piece reflected careful preparation, mindful use, and a quiet respect for resources, gently shaping the rhythm of life. Long before toilet paper, people living near coasts or rivers often turned to sponges and seaweed as gentle tools for hygiene. These materials were soft, natural, and carefully adapted to meet daily needs. Imagine a quiet shoreline at sunrise, where soft seaweed drifts slowly in the shallow water and natural sponges lie hidden among rocks. People moved slowly, selecting the most suitable pieces, guided by experience and observation. Natural sponges offered absorbency and softness. They could be handled gently, providing a calming touch while cleansing the body. Each sponge was chosen for its texture, flexibility, and comfort. Seaweed, with its smooth, pliable fronds, also served as a practical alternative. Its natural moisture and gentle surface allowed for cleansing that was both effective and soothing, connecting people to the rhythm of the sea. Using these materials required patience and attentiveness. Sponges and seaweed were prepared with care, sometimes rinsed in water or folded for added softness. Every action was deliberate, fostering mindfulness in daily routines. Children learned by observing adults as they harvested and used these materials. They discovered the importance of texture, flexibility, and gentle handling, absorbing lessons in observation, care, and the mindful use of natural resources. Sponges and seaweed were often combined with water. Small bowls, gentle streams, or tides provided cleansing and refreshment, blending practicality with calm, sensory experience. Even after use, these materials were treated thoughtfully. Sponges could be rinsed and stored for future use, while seaweed often returned to the shore or water, maintaining the quiet cycle of nature. The tactile experience encouraged attentiveness. The soft, springy feel of a sponge, or the smooth, pliable texture of seaweed promoted slow, deliberate movements and gentle reflection. Different coastal regions adapted these practices to local materials. In some areas, sponges were abundant, while in others, seaweed was preferred. Communities quietly observed, experimented, and refined their methods over generations. Using sponges and seaweed created a harmonious connection between hygiene and nature. The materials were both practical and calming, reminding people that even small daily tasks could be approached with care and thoughtfulness. Through these natural tools, early communities discovered that hygiene could be gentle, mindful, and closely tied to the environment. Each choice reflected patience, observation, and a deliberate rhythm of life. Before toilet paper, people living in colder climates often used wool and animal fur as soft, warm alternatives for hygiene. These natural materials were gentle on the skin and readily available, offering both comfort and practicality. Imagine a quiet winter morning in a small village, the soft touch of wool harvested from sheep resting in your hands. People carefully selected clean, pliable fibers, handling them slowly and thoughtfully. Animal fur, gathered from rabbits, goats, or other animals, also served as a gentle option. Its softness and natural warmth provided comfort, making hygiene a calm, soothing experience even in the cold. Using wool or fur required care and patience. Fibers were cleaned, folded, or layered to create the right texture, ensuring comfort and effectiveness. Every movement was deliberate, reflecting attention to both body and material. Children observed the process, learning how to handle wool and fur gently. They absorbed lessons in patience, mindfulness, and the thoughtful use of resources, connecting daily hygiene with skillful care. Wool and fur were often washed and dried carefully after use. Gentle rinsing in water and slow drying in the sun or near the hearth created a quiet, meditative cycle of cleanliness and renewal. These materials could be reused multiple times, reflecting a subtle respect for resources. Communities learned that careful handling and proper cleaning preserved comfort and practicality, emphasizing mindfulness in daily life. Even in harsher climates, wool and fur provided a gentle solution. Their soft, insulating textures cushioned the body while maintaining hygiene, demonstrating ingenuity and adaptation to environmental conditions. Different fibers had unique qualities. Sheep wool was soft and absorbent, rabbit fur was delicate, and goat hair offered a balance of flexibility and sturdiness. Communities observed these differences and used them thoughtfully. The sensory experience of wool and fur encouraged attentiveness. The warmth, softness, and subtle textures promoted calm, deliberate movements, turning routine hygiene into a mindful, reflective act. Using these materials also reinforced connection to nature. People understood the value of animals, the care required to gather fibers, and the balance between human needs and the environment. Through wool and animal fur, early humans discovered that hygiene could be comforting, practical, and mindful. Every action, selecting, cleaning, and using fibers, taught patience, observation, and gentle adaptation, quietly shaping the rhythm of daily life. Before modern toilet paper, people living in snowy or icy regions often used snow, ice, and other cold natural materials as gentle, practical alternatives. These elements were abundant, soft when handled carefully, and offered a unique cleansing experience. Imagine a quiet winter morning in a frozen landscape. Snow glistens softly under pale sunlight, blanketing the ground in white. People move slowly, selecting patches of fresh, clean snow, aware of its gentle texture. Snow, when gathered carefully, can provide a soft, cooling touch. Its purity and lightness make it an effective and soothing material for hygiene, connecting people to the quiet rhythms of the winter environment. Ice, smoothed by flowing water or the passage of time, was sometimes used with caution. Its firmness and coldness required gentle handling, reminding communities to move slowly and deliberately. Using snow or ice required mindfulness. People handled it carefully, often folding it or combining it with cloth or soft plant fibers to provide comfort while cleansing. Each movement was calm, deliberate, and thoughtful. Children learned from elders how to use snow and ice safely. They observed careful selection, gentle touch, and the importance of respecting the natural environment while attending to daily hygiene needs. Snow and ice were often used in combination with other materials. Soft cloth, moss, or leaves could be added to create a balanced and comfortable experience, blending the cool touch of nature with gentleness and care. Even after use, snow and ice left no lasting trace. They melted naturally, returning to the earth in a quiet, seamless cycle that reflected the careful, mindful approach communities had to resources and the environment. The sensory experience encouraged attentiveness. The crispness of snow, the smooth chill of ice, and the subtle crunch under fingertips created a connection to the natural world, fostering calm and reflection. Different regions adapted these cold materials according to availability. In extreme northern climates, snow and ice were reliable and consistent, offering a gentle solution when other natural resources were scarce. Using snow and ice reinforced a slow, deliberate rhythm in daily life. Every gesture, from selection to application, promoted mindfulness, patience, and an awareness of the quiet beauty of the winter landscape. Through snow, ice, and other cold alternatives, early communities discovered that hygiene could be practical, resourceful, and calming. Each moment was an opportunity to connect with nature, observe carefully, and move gently through daily life. Long before toilet paper, hygiene was not only a personal routine, but also a shared aspect of community life. People developed quiet, thoughtful practices that maintained cleanliness while fostering cooperation and care. In small villages, families often coordinated daily routines around access to water sources, soft leaves, or other materials. The flow of activity was gentle and deliberate, ensuring that everyone could attend to hygiene calmly and comfortably. Public spaces, such as riverbanks, ponds, or communal latrines, were used with attention and respect. People moved slowly, mindful of both their own needs and those of others, creating a rhythm of shared responsibility. Children learned early how communities approached hygiene. They observed elders taking turns, preparing materials, and maintaining cleanliness, gaining lessons in patience, cooperation, and mindfulness. Even the collection of resources like leaves, moss, or water often involved communal understanding. People waited their turn, chose materials thoughtfully, and respected what others had gathered, reflecting a quiet, shared awareness. In some cultures, simple rituals accompanied public hygiene. Gentle washing, careful disposal of materials, and mindful observation of others created a calm, respectful environment for everyone in the community. These practices encourage slow movement and attentiveness. People notice textures, temperatures, and moisture, adjusting their actions accordingly, fostering a rhythm that combined personal care with social harmony. Elders often guided younger members of the community, teaching the best ways to maintain cleanliness using available resources. This passed down knowledge quietly, ensuring that practical wisdom and respect for nature endured through generations. Materials were sometimes shared or exchanged, such as soft cloth, rags, or plant fibers. These exchanges were done carefully and respectfully, reinforcing the gentle interconnectedness of community life. Even disposal of used materials followed thoughtful practices. Composting, returning plant matter to the soil, or washing and reusing cloth preserved resources while promoting quiet responsibility and environmental mindfulness. Community hygiene also strengthened social bonds. People supported one another in maintaining cleanliness, observing each other with calm awareness, and learning to navigate shared spaces with patience and care. Through these collective practices, early communities discovered that hygiene could be both personal and social. Every action, selecting, preparing, sharing, and cleaning, was an opportunity for mindfulness, patience, and gentle cooperation, shaping the quiet rhythm of daily life. Before toilet paper, humans gradually developed early methods using paper, cloth, and fibers to meet hygiene needs. These methods evolved slowly, guided by observation, patience, and the practical rhythms of daily life. Imagine quiet workshops where people carefully prepared soft sheets of paper from mulberry bark, bamboo, or rice fibers. Each sheet was pressed gently, dried slowly, and handled with care, reflecting both practicality and mindful craftsmanship. Cloth production evolved alongside these early paper methods. Fibers were spun, woven, and washed repeatedly to create soft, reusable materials. The process required patience and attention, fostering calm and deliberate routines. Early societies discovered that softness and flexibility were essential qualities. They experimented with different fibers, blending textures to achieve comfort while maintaining effectiveness. Every adjustment was subtle and thoughtful. Children observed elders working with these materials, absorbing lessons in mindfulness, patience, and careful handling. They learned that preparation, observation, and care could transform raw materials into practical tools for daily life. Water often accompanied these early methods. Cloth or paper could be softened, cleaned, or reused with gentle rinsing, creating a slow, soothing rhythm that connected daily hygiene with observation of natural resources. Over time, knowledge of materials expanded. People discovered that layering sheets of cloth or paper increased comfort, while combining fibers from different plants or animals created a balance of softness and durability. These early methods also reflected sustainability. Reusable cloth and carefully handled paper minimized waste, encouraging communities to move slowly and deliberately, respecting both resources and the environment. Even small innovations mattered. The thickness of a paper sheet, the weave of a cloth, or the layering of fibers reflected careful observation and incremental improvement, creating a quiet sense of accomplishment and ingenuity. The evolution of these methods encouraged mindfulness. Selecting fibers, preparing materials, and applying them with care became a gentle, reflective practice woven into the daily rhythms of life. Communities refined their techniques over generations. Knowledge was shared quietly, through demonstration and guidance, ensuring that practical wisdom endured alongside cultural practices and local customs. Through the evolution of early paper and fabric methods, people discovered that hygiene could be both practical and thoughtful. Every step, from selection to preparation to use, offered an opportunity for patience, reflection, and gentle adaptation, quietly shaping the rhythm of human life. Bedtime story vibe. Before modern toilet paper, hygiene was deeply influenced by customs and cultural practices. Each community approached cleanliness with care, mindfulness, and respect for both the body and the environment. Imagine a quiet village where daily routines unfold slowly. People follow gentle patterns, observing traditional methods for washing, using natural materials, and maintaining personal cleanliness. These practices are passed down through generations. In some regions, washing with water after using leaves, moss, or cloth was standard. In others, soft plant fibers, paper, or even sand were combined with careful hand movements, reflecting cultural preferences and local resources. Children learned these customs by observing elders. They absorbed not only practical skills, but also the rhythm and etiquette of hygiene, understanding that cleanliness was a practice to be approached calmly and respectfully. Many cultures had rituals associated with hygiene. Gentle washing, careful disposal of materials, and respect for shared spaces created a calming environment where daily needs were attended to with mindfulness. Materials were often prepared in advance. Leaves, moss, cloth, or paper were stored carefully, ensuring readiness and comfort. This preparation reflected deliberate attention to daily life and the thoughtful approach to hygiene. Community practices encouraged sharing knowledge. People quietly taught one another the best methods, including how to select soft leaves, fold cloth, or handle delicate paper, fostering cooperation and gentle observation. Even small gestures mattered. The placement of materials, the careful folding of cloth, or the arrangement of leaves in preparation for use reflected subtle attention to detail, creating a calming rhythm in everyday routines. Cultural norms also dictated timing and approach. Hygiene was often conducted during quiet moments, such as early morning or evening, emphasizing reflection and slow, deliberate actions. The textures, scents, and temperatures of natural materials contributed to the experience. Soft leaves, warm cloth, or cool water encouraged mindfulness, slowing movement and creating a gentle connection with the environment. Customs sometimes included communal care. Shared spaces and resources were used respectfully, ensuring that everyone could maintain hygiene in a calm, orderly, and thoughtful way. Through these hygiene customs and cultural practices, early communities discovered that cleanliness was more than a physical need. It was a reflection of patience, observation, respect, and mindfulness, quietly shaping the gentle rhythms of daily life. Before modern toilet paper, hygiene was closely woven into the daily rhythms of life. Each action, from gathering materials to cleansing, unfolded slowly, offering moments of calm and reflection. Imagine a quiet morning in a small village. People rise with the sun, moving gently through their routines. Washing, selecting soft leaves or cloth, and tending to personal care are all done with patience and attention. Daily life was organized around access to natural materials. Rivers, streams, forests, and fields provided the resources needed for gentle hygiene, and communities moved deliberately to ensure comfort and cleanliness. Children learned by observing adults. They watched soft leaves being folded, moss being gathered, and cloth being prepared, absorbing lessons in patience, mindfulness, and careful handling of natural resources. Even simple routines, such as rinsing with water or folding a piece of cloth, encouraged calm, deliberate movements. Each gesture became part of a quiet rhythm, connecting humans to both body and environment. Communities balanced practicality with observation. People learned which materials were softest, most effective, and most sustainable, quietly refining methods to suit local conditions. Daily hygiene was often accompanied by gentle sensory awareness. The touch of moss, the cool flow of water, or the smoothness of a stone invited attentiveness and reflection, slowing the pace of routine life. Preparing materials in advance became a subtle practice. Leaves were stored, cloth was washed and folded, and plant fibers were kept ready, creating a calm, predictable rhythm in everyday life. The presence of family and community reinforced the gentle pace. People respected one another's routines, shared knowledge, and maintained communal spaces with care, ensuring comfort and order. Even in regions with scarce resources, creativity flourished. People adapted moss, plant stalks, or even snow to meet hygiene needs thoughtfully, demonstrating resourcefulness and gentle problem-solving. Daily hygiene also reinforced connection to nature. Each use of leaves, water, cloth, or plant fibers encouraged observation, awareness, and respect for the natural world surrounding communities. Through the integration of hygiene into daily life, early humans discovered that cleanliness could be calming, reflective, and mindful. Every routine, small gesture, and deliberate action shaped the quiet rhythm of life, connecting body, community, and environment. Before modern toilet paper, people developed a variety of hygiene practices that carried subtle lessons in patience, mindfulness, and respect for nature. These lessons quietly shaped daily life. Imagine observing a forest or riverbank where families gather leaves, moss, or smooth stones. Each action is slow and deliberate, teaching the value of observation and careful selection. Early humans discovered that comfort and effectiveness often depended on attention to detail. Folding leaves, softening cloth, or layering moss required patience and careful hands. Children learned through gentle guidance. Watching adults, they absorbed knowledge of textures, materials, and methods, while also cultivating mindfulness and appreciation for natural resources. The practices emphasized resourcefulness. Leaves, stalks, cloth, or snow were used thoughtfully, often reused or returned to the earth, fostering awareness of sustainability and environmental balance. Even small innovations mattered. People experimented with layering materials, combining textures, or softening fibers, gradually refining hygiene practices with patience and observation. Daily hygiene became an exercise in mindfulness. The touch of soft moss, the cool flow of water, or the smoothness of a shell encouraged slow, deliberate movements and a calming connection to the world. Communities learned to share knowledge respectfully. Elders passed down methods, and individuals observed and adapted, ensuring that practical wisdom endured across generations. The quiet rhythm of these routines reinforced reflection. Each step, from collecting materials to cleaning, folding, or washing, offered an opportunity to slow down and be present. Early practices also highlighted adaptability. People responded to their environment creatively, whether using snow in cold climates, seaweed near the coast, or plant stalks in agricultural regions. Through these methods, hygiene was more than a physical task. It became a deliberate, thoughtful interaction with the environment, teaching patience, care, and awareness of natural rhythms. Reflecting on early hygiene, we see that even small daily actions can carry wisdom. Attention, mindfulness, and gentle adaptation to the resources around us quietly shaped human life, offering lessons that endure even today. Before toilet paper became common, societies gradually shifted toward using paper as a more standardized hygiene material. This change unfolded slowly, blending practicality, comfort, and careful innovation. Imagine quiet workshops where fibers from mulberry, bamboo, or rice were soaked, mashed, and pressed into smooth sheets. Each sheet was handled with care, reflecting both craftsmanship and thoughtfulness. The adoption of paper for hygiene was influenced by its softness, flexibility, and availability. People discovered that it could be produced in consistent sizes, making daily routines easier and more comfortable. Children observed adults preparing paper, learning the slow, careful steps needed to make each sheet usable. They absorbed lessons in patience, observation, and mindful handling of natural materials. Early paper was often folded or layered to increase softness and absorbency. Communities experimented with different thicknesses, textures, and treatments, quietly refining techniques over generations. Water sometimes accompanied the use of paper, softening it or improving comfort. The combination of paper and water created a gentle, effective cleansing method that integrated naturally into daily routines. Paper gradually complemented existing materials like cloth, moss, or plant fibers. This blending of old and new methods reflected adaptability and respect for both tradition and innovation. Even in bustling towns, paper was used thoughtfully. Small sheets were kept ready, and after use, some were composted or burned carefully, reflecting mindfulness and consideration for resources. The sensory experience of paper encouraged attentiveness. The smooth texture, gentle fold, and subtle flexibility promoted calm, deliberate movements in daily life. Different regions developed their own paper techniques. East Asia, for example, innovated early forms of soft paper, while other areas experimented with blending fibers to achieve similar effects. Through the shift toward modern paper, people learned that hygiene could be consistent, practical, and gentle. Each small improvement reflected careful observation, patient experimentation, and thoughtful adaptation. This gradual transition reminds us that even everyday materials carry history and wisdom. The evolution of paper as a hygiene tool quietly shaped comfort, mindfulness, and the rhythm of daily life. Before modern toilet paper became common, hygiene innovations spread gradually across communities and regions, quietly transforming daily life while respecting tradition and natural resources. Imagine slow journeys along rivers, trade routes, and pathways where ideas traveled as gently as the travelers themselves. People shared knowledge of soft leaves, cloth, moss, or paper, bringing small improvements to new villages. Early communities observed the successes of others. When one group discovered a particularly soft plant or refined paper method, neighbors adopted it carefully, adjusting it to local resources and customs. Children absorbed these practices naturally. Watching adults adapt and experiment, they learned that hygiene was not fixed, but could evolve thoughtfully, combining tradition with innovation. The movement of hygiene ideas encouraged mindfulness. People noticed textures, materials, and techniques, refining their methods with careful observation and subtle adjustments over time. Even small changes had impact. A softer cloth, a more flexible paper, or the gentle combination of moss and water improved comfort, teaching that deliberate attention could transform everyday routines. Trade and communication allowed materials to travel as well. Cloth, paper, and other fibers moved along rivers and roads, giving communities access to new resources and expanding possibilities for hygiene. Cultural exchange encouraged adaptation. Methods from distant regions were modified to suit local needs, creating a blend of techniques that reflected both creativity and careful observation. Communities also learned to respect balance. Innovations were integrated gradually, ensuring that resource use remained sustainable and that the quiet rhythm of daily life was preserved. The spread of hygiene innovations reinforced social bonds. Sharing methods and materials encouraged cooperation, patience, and mutual respect, reminding people that even small practices could connect communities. Through this gradual dissemination, hygiene became more consistent and comfortable. Each step, each adaptation, and each shared insight quietly improved everyday life, blending practicality with mindfulness. Reflecting on the spread of early hygiene practices, we see that human life has always been shaped by curiosity, observation, and gentle experimentation. Every improvement carried lessons in patience, care, and thoughtful adaptation. Looking back on the long history before toilet paper, we see a world where hygiene was both practical and mindful, guided by observation, care, and gentle adaptation to nature. Imagine quiet forests, riverbanks, and villages where people selected soft leaves, moss, smooth stones, or cloth. Each choice reflected thoughtfulness and respect for both body and environment. Early humans learned patience through these practices. Gathering materials, folding cloth, or preparing paper required slow, deliberate movements, turning daily hygiene into a calm, reflective ritual. Children absorbed lessons quietly. Observing elders, they discovered how small, gentle actions could create comfort, cleanliness, and mindfulness, shaping not only their bodies, but their habits and awareness. Natural materials offered both practicality and sensory connection. The smoothness of a shell, the softness of moss, or the cool flow of water invited attentiveness, slowing the pace of life and fostering quiet reflection. Communities valued sustainability. Reusing cloth, returning plant matter to the soil, or composting paper ensured that hygiene practices harmonized with the environment, reinforcing careful observation and respect. The spread of ideas, from soft plant fibers to early paper methods, demonstrated human ingenuity. People adapted techniques thoughtfully, blending old traditions with new insights, always moving gently and deliberately. Cultural customs added richness to hygiene. Gentle rituals, careful handling of materials, and respect for shared spaces created a calm social rhythm that connected families and communities. Even in harsh climates, creativity and mindfulness prevailed. Snow, ice, wool, or fur were used thoughtfully, showing that resourcefulness and care could transform daily necessities into calming routines. Every practice carried lessons in observation, patience, and gentle adaptation. The daily rhythm of hygiene became an opportunity to connect with nature, the body, and the surrounding community in quiet, reflective ways. Looking at this history, we see that hygiene shaped life in subtle, profound ways. Comfort, mindfulness, and respect for resources quietly guided human activity long before modern conveniences appeared. Through these centuries of careful, thoughtful practice, humans discovered that even the simplest routines could be meaningful. Hygiene was not merely a necessity, it became a reflection of patience, care, and gentle harmony with the world around them.